Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. The same channel but in a brand new room, as you can see, and to kick things off in the new snooker room, the best rest player in the world is going to show you how to use the rest. Kyron! So welcome back down to the channel, guys, and those of you with a very keen eye will have noticed on my social media over recent days that we've moved. And welcome to my new snooker room. This is where all the content will be coming from in the future, and you know, things will change in the room. Some of the decor may change, some of the staging may change, but what's not going to change is the content that's going to keep coming to you. Every Tuesday we're going to keep loading up these tutorial videos on how to, and how do I do this, how do I do that. In the Frame is going to continue every week as well. And yeah, welcome to my new practice room. So what I thought we'd do is we'd christen the room by starting off with something that I know quite a lot about. Of course, it was a bit tongue-in-cheek with the intro there. Do you know what? Let's just clear that up before we go any further. Who's the best player with the rest in the game of snooker? I think there are so many players who could lay claim to that particular title. I'm thankful that I'm in the mix with that, but you know, there are so many players who are great with it. Ronnie O'Sullivan is a very good rest player. Jimmy White was always the best. But Kyron Wilson, the world champion, who often he and I are, is he the best? Is he the best? Is he the best? I think Kyron Wilson, if it were up to me, I think he slightly edges it, because I think his range of shots, what he can do with the cue ball, is just incredible. He plays shots that, you know, the rest of us are just trying to get out of trouble, just put the ball in the pocket. Meanwhile, Kyron has deep screwed the cue ball around the table and finished perfectly on the next shot. So for me, he's number one. I think I might be number two, not by much, and I'm happy to be second. But yeah, ultimately, if you're using the rest, you just want to get the ball in the pocket. So what I want to do with this video is run you through a few house rules with the rest, because I see so many amateur players around the world make using the rest far too complicated. Not only is their technique wrong, their grip might be wrong, they have the rest in the wrong place and all the rest of it. They try to do too much with the cue ball. Imagine if you were playing golf and the golf ball finished in the bunker. You know, the top pros in the world can think about getting the ball in the hole or getting it next to the hole. But for most amateurs, you just need to splash that ball out and carry on with the round. And the rest is very similar to that. When you're playing a shot using the rest, it generally means that it's a shot that you can't reach normally with your hand. And so from there, you know, you're already in trouble usually. And so just get out of trouble. Make the shot as simple as you possibly can. So let's get the rest out and run through some of the basics that, you know, I think really will see you improve your rest play. The rest is something that strikes fear into most players. They play shots that they really shouldn't and try and put the cue ball in places they really shouldn't do, so they can avoid using this implement. And of course, it's provided at the end of most tables, certainly in most clubs anyway, it's provided to help you. So don't be frightened of playing the right shot, even if that means it's going to leave you using the rest. I like to keep it as simple as I possibly can. And of course, without being too big-headed, if I can blow my own trumpet for a moment, I am pretty good with the rest. But even still, like to keep it as straightforward as I possibly can. Don't try to do too much. This is difficult enough. Just keep it as simple as you possibly can. Let's start with the grip. Obviously, it's a totally different grip than you would use for normal shots. You know, you go from there and you have to switch to holding the cue between the fingers. And that's something that ranges across the game. I've seen lots of different players. I'll just take the position for this shot. That's my standard grip. I've seen lots of players who just use it with the one finger. I think Kyron Wilson just uses the one finger. And I think Stephen Hendry used to just use one finger as well. Steve Davis, Ronnie O'Sullivan, and players who I've looked up to throughout my career, and most coaching manuals and coaches out there. Do we even have coaching manuals anymore? We'll come back to that sometime. Most of the coaches out there would advise the 2 finger above, 2 finger below technique, which you can see there. And that's pretty standard. That's one of the most common standard grips that you can possibly use. Now we get into the really murky stuff. And I've seen some players, some professional players, gripping the cue. It hurts me to even do this. I can't bring myself to do it. They grip the cue with all 4 fingers on top of it when using the rest. There's a couple of players that come to mind doing this, and I've got no idea how they manage to use the rest properly doing it like that. I'm trying to remember who it might be. I can't think exactly who it is, but there are some players who do it like this. I remember seeing one player, they basically just reversed their grip. They went from holding the cue normally like that, and they just flicked it round and, you know, changed the direction they were holding it. I mean, that's just so alien. And this is before we get into what the Thai player Sunny Akani does, when he just totally changes his setup and plays the shot like a normal shot. I can't do it here as a right-hander. But that's something totally different. Now, the grip really is pretty simple, as it is for the normal shot. And that's just, my advice would be 2 fingers on top, 2 fingers underneath, the thumb underneath, and it just sits there. That for me is textbook and would be where I would advise you to start with it. Nice grip, right at the end of the cue. If your cue has a name badge, if you have a plaque at the end of your cue, you can try and cover that, or you can even just leave a little gap there. But somewhere at the end, you don't want to be gripping the cue too far down it there with too much cue hanging over. That's a bit of a no-no. But having the grip right at the back of the cue is a really good place to start. In terms of sighting the shot, the general rules of sighting a shot stay the same when using the rest. And in some ways, you could make the argument that actually sighting the shot with the rest ought to be easier than sighting the shot without, because from here, I can see the whole shot in front of me. I've got a 57.5 inch cue. The standard is 58 inch. But I've got all of that in front of me there to show me the line, to show me the line of the shot. So if I'm slightly off, it should stand out like a sore thumb when using the rest. If you think about your normal textbook, stance on a normal shot, you'd only see the cue from halfway down it because your chin would be on it. But with the rest, the whole thing is in front of you. So it should really make it that little bit easier. From then, the next thing for me, once you've got the grip and you can see the line of the shot, the next thing for me is what your other hand does. Your dominant hand will be the one holding the cue, and your other hand needs to get the rest out of the way. One of the big mistakes I see amateur players make is that they do all their work with their grip hand here, directly in front of their face, and the other hand holds the rest, directly underneath the cue. And there's nothing really to go wrong there, except there's just a bit too much traffic. It's just a bit, it's all a bit compact. You've got lots of width. Use it. Get that rest out of the way. Obviously, be careful not to bang it into any other balls. And then get your hand on top of it if you can. I'm not a real fan of holding the rest underneath. I don't think it's very sturdy. Doesn't keep the rest where it needs to be. I like to get that rest on the table and my hand on top of it to keep it planted so that the rest head at the end of the shot doesn't move. Any slight movement in that rest head as I'm striking the cue ball will be catastrophic to the results of this shot. So grip, alignment, get the rest down and get it out of the way. There will be times where holding it underneath and having your hand underneath the rest like that, there will be times where that's preferable, but not many. In general, get the rest out of the way and get your hand on top of it. Now let's actually play a shot, because we've done a lot of talking. One of the simplest things to do with the rest is to overplay it. You think you can take the cue back a long way, and that can lead to disaster. When I was a young boy, I was taught that to help with the rest, because of the way our arms work and because of the way your elbow bends to use the rest, if you can see there, my hand naturally wants to go in a curve. It doesn't want to go in a straight line. So the further back I take the cue and the further through the cue ball I throw the cue when I'm playing the shot, the harder it is to keep the cue on a straight line, because my arm doesn't want to go straight, wants to go in a little semicircle. You can see it there, actually wants to go round. So to keep it as straight as possible, the best tip I ever heard was to take the cue back as short as you can and follow through as short as you can. Normally, you would advise somebody to have a really nice long follow through on normal shots. But with the rest, a short backswing and a short follow through are a really good starting place to help narrow that, field of mistakes. There's much less to go wrong if you keep that backswing as short as possible and keep the follow through nice and compact as well. Now, I can do both. I can take the cue way back here, keep my chin up a little bit, bring the cue back right under my chin and through, and I can fizz that cue ball back. But I am a professional, so that's okay. I really like to try and keep things as simple as possible, as I've said a few times already. I really like that grip position, get the rest out of the way. I've got good alignment there, nice short backswing, only to there, and a nice short follow through. For me, that keeps everything simple. That gives me the best chance of keeping the cue on a straight line back and on a straight line going forward. That's what it's all about. The minute you take it back too far with the rest, because of the shape of our elbow and our arm, with the way our arm naturally wants to go in a semicircle there, doesn't want to go in a straight line, it's too difficult. The further back you take that cue, the more things can go wrong. You might still get away with it. It is possible to do it. As I just showed you a minute ago, you can still take the cue back a long way and do it. But you're asking for trouble. Now, we're starting to get into the secrets now. These are the real secret things. And I've said a few of these things before, but let's go through them again. One of my massive tips when using the rest is to keep your elbow at least parallel with the bed of the table. And again, that's all to do with the curvature of your arm and how your arm wants to naturally shape through the ball. If I keep that elbow there, at least parallel with my forearm and the table, if I keep that angle, it helps me keep that cue on a straight line and deliver the cue to the cue ball where I want to. The minute I let my elbow drop down to the table, again, I'm encouraging things to go wrong. It lacks that stability. I mean, I actually find this hard to do because I've been doing it this way since I was a young boy. I find it hard to allow my elbow to drop down, almost touching the table. I find that really hard. And I also think it encourages a lot of movement here in the upper arm and into the forearm. Really, when you're using the rest, a bit like a normal shot, the only real moving part should be from your elbow down to your grip. That's the only bit that should move. The minute your upper arm starts moving, you're just asking for trouble. I mean, look at this. This could go anywhere. I could hit that cue ball anywhere I want there. Just don't know what's going to happen. I like to get that elbow up, keep that angle of attack with the forearm at least parallel to the bed of the table. Keep it there. Nice short backswing, nice short follow through. And that's another red dispatched into the pocket. Now, Obviously, we're talking about keeping things simple, but every now and again, you will need to play position for your next shot. Let's imagine for this shot that I've got to pot the red and screw back for blue. You know, this is a fairly straightforward shot that you'll see in most matches, but we need to get all of those things, as we've mentioned, correct to be able to deliver that cue at the right pace, the right angle of attack into the back of the cue ball, get the spin on the cue ball and have it fizz back for the blue. It's much harder to do if you've got lots of moving parts, if your elbow droops down, if the rest is moving, if your backswing's too long. This becomes a very, very difficult shot. So let's run through the basics and play the deep screw back for the blue. Got good alignment, I can see the whole shot in front of me. I get the rest down, out of the way. I've got my nice grip, 2 above, 2 underneath. I've got my elbow at least parallel with my forearm and the bed of the table. I keep a nice sight in on the shot, nice short backswing and a nice short follow through. Brings the cue ball perfectly back for the blue. Guys, that's my video on the rest done. They're my tips of the day for how to become a good, consistent rest player. There's been quite a lot of people out there wanting this video, so thanks for getting involved. Thanks for interacting with us in the comments. We are listening to you, don't worry. All of the comments get read. We are trying so hard to bring you the content on this channel that you want to watch. There's been a lot of people asking for advice on how to use the rest. Kyron wasn't available. You had to put up with me. But make a note of those tips, watch them, practice them, and I guarantee you that your rest play will improve. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, it's totally free, and I'll see you on the next video.